I'm Yasmin Johnson. I am the Youth Workforce Development Coordinator here at Families Together in New York State. I'm also a YPA. Today's webinar is titled Building Confidence in Youth, the Role of Youth Peer Advocates, hosted by Families Together in New York State and CTAC, and is going to be presented by Onyx Walker. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. Everyone has been placed on mute to avoid any background noise. If you have any tech issues during the webinar, please reach out to our host via the chat, and Vanessa will be able to assist you. We also have a Q&A section that will be at the end of the webinar, so we encourage you to chat in any of your questions throughout this training so that we can document them and get to them at the end. We also would appreciate if you could take a moment to fill out the brief feedback survey that will appear in the chat box. Let us know if you have any suggestions for future topics that you'd like us to cover in the future. And also just a reminder that today's webinar will be recorded and presentation slides will be posted on the CTAG website within the next 2 to 3 business days. I also wanted to mention that there is an accompanying toolkit online on CTAC's website, and there's a link in the chat for it if you wanted to take this learning a little bit deeper or have something that you can reference after this webinar. So we're very excited to have Onyx here to speak to us about the role of YPAs in building confidence in youth. Thank you all for joining us. I'm going to pass it on now to Onyx to introduce himself and get us started.
Thanks, Yasmin. Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. It's Tuesday. We haven't gotten that far in the week, but it's never too early to celebrate the coming of Friday, right? I'm Onyx Walker. I really suck at introductions, but the most important thing to know about me is that I've been working with young people for about 10 years now. I have homeless experience, and peer work happens to be something that I fell into because I really care about others who happen to care about others, right? It's a cycle. So yeah, happy to be here, and excited to talk about confidence with you guys. Um, I think this would be really helpful if you work with any peers or if you work with young people, especially. I think that you'll find this to be helpful, even in your own personal life, um, not just as a professional. So I hope that you enjoy this. Are we all good to go? All right. If we are good to go, then I will get started. So, welcome. Building confidence in youth, the role of youth peer advocates in developing self-assurance. In this presentation, we're going to go over confidence, what that means, what it should mean, what it could mean, what it's meant to you, and how we can sort of shape that definition and make it something more tangible. You know, everyone talks about confidence like it's this mysterious thing, but it's really easy to grasp once you decide that you want to take hold of it. So we're going to go through it. We're going to break it down little by little. All right. So here we go. That's me right there. That's my name. That's Onyx. Again, thank you, CTAC, because it's going to be great. And CTAC really worked with me to make sure that we handle this and take care of it together. So here we are. What is confidence? Confidence is a feeling of self-assurance derived from an appreciation of one's abilities or qualities. Low confidence is common, but having higher levels enables youth to tackle challenges effectively, leading to personal and social growth, right? So fear not if you don't consider yourself a confident person. Having low confidence is quite normal. But we want you to feel more confident, right? So we're gonna work on that. Don't worry, I'm gonna get you right. YPA's key supporters. Youth peer advocates serve a pivotal role as relatable figures who embody resilience. They connect with youth on a personal level, instilling confidence through shared experiences and encouraging healthier choices in life, right? So as a peer advocate, your job is to connect to individuals who you relate to. You already have the common ground of relatability with them, right? So you want to make sure that you're really focusing on this in your relationships with them. And especially as a youth peer advocate, that's key to building that connection, right? Benefits of confidence. Everybody talks about confidence. They're like, oh man, you should be more confident. You should do this, you should do that. But let's talk about the actual benefits of it. Confidence enhances academic performance. It fosters healthier relationships and equips youth to make informed decisions. A confident youth is more likely to evolve into a successful adult, facing life challenges assertively, right? So, the more confident you are in yourself, the more likely you are to make an informed decision, right? And make stronger, healthier relationships, right? There won't be relationships of insecurity, um, because you'll have the confidence in yourself to be able to have a good relationship and to know that you have the right answer in certain situations, right? Okay. So, building confidence as a YPA. Before we get into this, actually, I have some questions. I want to know who's here. I want to get to know you guys a little bit. Um, my question for you, and anyone can come off of mute. This is a safe space. I promise I won't judge you. Um, my first question is, what makes you feel confident, right? As an individual. We got lots of people here, some of which I'm sure are very confident, and some of you not so much, but this is a good time to really talk about it, right? What makes you feel confident? I can go first, sort of break the ice. What makes me feel confident is getting my hair braided. There is no better feeling than getting my hair braided and then going to get my hair cut right after. It is such a wonderful feeling. It's like I can see my face again, you know what I mean? And I'm happy to see my face. It makes me happy. Um, so that's what gives me confidence. Um, I see a comment from Sheila. Um, Thanks for commenting. Dressing up and doing my makeup. I like that. I like that. Dressing up, doing my makeup. See, I don't relate to the makeup thing, but that sounds like fun. So maybe I'll give it a shot. Who knows? Maybe I'll do some Hollywood makeup. I'm seeing some comments as well, honing in on my passions and practicing until I reach a level of satisfaction in my craft. To be precise, poetry, writing, and photograph. Yes, channeling those passions and working on them are really good at self affirmations and making sure that like you're able to scratch that itch in your brain. You really get to feel assured. Getting my nails done and my hair, practicing self love. I love that. That's what I'm talking about. Being good at something. Yes. Yes. Being good at something, anything, even if it's, I don't know, maybe you're playing Uno and you just got those perfect draw fours lined up in your hand. Now you feel so confident, like you could take on the world, you know? Grounding and keeping myself in the present moment. Yes. Yes. I like that. It's hard
Hi,
to be present.
sorry. I
Go
was
ahead.
trying to find the raise your hand button. Hello, everyone. My name is Ebony. I'm a family peer advocate and I work with youth. That's why I decided to chime in today, to see if I can get some tips or good advice or any nuggets that I can incorporate into my job. But I wanted to comment on what makes me confident, and that is when I get positive feedback, from those who I am helping. That always makes me feel more confident that I know I'm doing the right thing.
Yes. Positive feedback. It's so good that you bring that up. It's almost like you're reading my mind because we're going to talk about the importance of feedback during this presentation, right? But, getting that confirmation that you're doing the right thing or that you're in the right direction is super helpful. Thank you for sharing, Ebony. Knowing the theme about what we're talking about, seeing someone go from substance use disorders to success. Yes, yes, yes. These are all great answers. And there's so many.
Uh,
Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. My name is Cheryl Roberts. I bake a lot professionally, bake cakes and wedding cakes. And after the pandemic, I kind of like laid back. So when I had to do the cakes again, um, I was feeling nervous. My tactics and everything wasn't really 100% to me. But when the people and the participants, everybody who came to the wedding and stuff like that, they said, wow, who did this cake? And I'm here quiet, didn't say nothing, but it gave me confidence. So when I came back home, I started contacting all the people, letting them know that I'm going to start back again. And ever since that, it boosted up my confidence, the amount of people that, came and asked if they could, order a cake. And I also noticed that once that happened, and all of this is after the pandemic, I started to cater more to myself. I feel more confident. Um, I will go ahead and put facial on my face and keep myself, feeling happy about something that I did good and how people react to it.
Nice. Thank you for sharing, Cheryl. Yes,
Yeah,
it feels great when people are like, yes, we want some of what you got. It
yeah,
lets you know that you got the special sauce that everybody wants.
right.
That's really good. Thank you for sharing.
And you're welcome.
Thank you everyone for sharing. These are amazing responses. I'm so glad that you're all here, you're present. This is going to be good. This is going to be great. Um, and feel free, type whatever you want in the chat. The chat will continue to go, and when I get a chance, I'll read them when it's time to take a pause. Um, but thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so let's talk about building confidence as a YPA, right? We talked about what confidence is, but let's talk about how we build it. Okay, so confidence is a muscle too, right? It sounds like this abstract thing, this thing that you can't really get a hold of. And that's true. You can't really hold confidence. Like you can't like lift it physically. But you can stretch the muscle and you can work it out. So think of it like a muscle, right? It's analogous to a muscle that strengthens with practice and effort. So just the same way that consistent workouts lead to physical development, repetitive experiences that challenge youth can help them build their confidence over time. The more confidence is exercised, the more resilient youth become, right? So a lot of you were talking about the affirmations that people give you when you're getting the positive feedback. It helps you know you're in the right place. Experiences like that help to build that confidence muscle and make it much stronger, allows them to build up that strength within themselves. So think of it that way. Some strategies for YPAs to support youth. YPAs can foster confidence by implementing supportive strategies such as using positive reinforcement. Remember, you guys were speaking about that, encouraging open communication and setting personalized goals, right? Regular check ins and active listening can validate youth's feelings and help them navigate challenges effectively, all contributing to heightened self efficacy, right? Um, Efficacy is a strange word, but I like saying it. It just means you'll be more efficient, right? Efficacy is all about efficiency. So we want to make sure that we're setting those goals, right? So you can want to be great, but what do you want to be great at is an important question to ask yourself. Once you've set that goal and you've accomplished it, there's another level of confidence that you get from accomplishing goals that you specifically set out to do, right? I heard folks talking about practicing some of their passions. Photography was one that I saw in the chat, right? If you tell yourself, I'm going to get better at this style of photography, and then you actually do it, what better way to practice building your confidence than to actually get that affirmation that you're doing it right? Um, you get that positive reinforcement. Yo, this looks amazing. Encourage open communication, talk about it, get some feedback. You know what I mean? Um, and really focus on listening. This is something that I think is underrated, right? But listening is a skill, right? And I think as time has gone along and we've gotten more comfortable behind computer screens, we spent less time listening and more time saying, right? But listening really is a big deal. You learn so much about the world, but just listening to someone lets them know that you're there to support them, right? And there's a confidence that comes from folks just listening to you, right? You feel comfortable, you feel heard, you know, you feel like your opinion is wanted, right? So make sure you're practicing active listening. It's a big skill. Um, I'm seeing some messages in the chat here. Um, Listening with more than my ears is something I need to improve on. I would love to hear more from you, Austin, as soon as we're done with this section. But I'll circle back to you as soon as we're done with this section here. Um, Contradictory boundaries help youth gain confidence. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. We'll talk about those boundaries. Um, Oh my God, I love chat activity. It's so good. I feel like I'm a streamer. Um, Importance of reassurance and validation. Reassurance and validation from YPAs play a crucial role in boosting youth confidence. Providing a safe space for expression, along with constructive feedback, allows youth to recognize their strength. This practice helps dispel self-doubt, fostering a stronger belief in their abilities, right? So again, going back to the positive feedback, reassurance, you got this, validation, you can do this, and you've done it before, is really helpful to building that confidence. If you provide a safe space for expression, allow them to be themselves, right? Society already expects so much from us as individuals, right? But as young people, there is so much expectancy on what they're supposed to do and who they're supposed to become. So provide that safe space for them to just be themselves, right? Provide that constructive feedback. I saw someone in the chat was talking about boundaries just now, right? That can be a part of the feedback, right? Maybe a young person that you're working with is struggling with understanding what works here and what doesn't work here, right? Giving that constructive feedback, helping them understand will be much better than just saying this doesn't work, right? Um, it'll allow them to understand, okay, what am I good at and what am I not so good at? How can I figure that out and bridge the gap? um, because what you don't want is unnecessary self-doubt, right? We're not superheroes, so we're not going to be capable of everything, right? But we don't want to doubt ourselves when we should be having confidence in ourselves, right? We want to have confidence in our abilities and our strengths to be able to complete whatever it is that we set our mind to. So taking a step back for a second, to address the comment in the chat. So yeah, so Austin, you were talking about listening with more than your ears is something you need to improve on. Could you elaborate a bit more on what that means? When you say listening with more than your ears, what do you mean?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. So I only recently became a peer counselor. Probably, I actually just got my certification at the beginning of this year, but I was doing an internship earlier in the year. And honestly, like I learned about active listening, and like I realized like how important it is to just listen with more than your ears. Um, Growing up, I wasn't a big like eye contact person, and I'm still like it's something I struggle with personally to like really like engage with eye contact. So it's a goal of mine to like continue to work on this and improve on that.
Got it. So you're talking about like body language.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. That's a part of active listening. It's good that you bring that up. Active listening can be hard, right? Because sometimes when people are talking, we listen to respond, and not just to absorb, right? If you really listen, just to learn and absorb, you'll find that you've learned something more than you would have if you were trying to rebuttal every time somebody responded. But active listening, to Austin's point, sometimes there are ways that you can show that you're really listening, outside of just sitting there, right? Like subtle nod every now and then when you agree with something they're saying. Body language can be like your turn towards them if you're in person. you know Eye contact, obviously don't give too much eye contact, because too much eye contact is creepy. um Nobody wants you to stare directly into their soul, without blinking. That might make people a bit uncomfortable. But healthy eye contact, um just giving them your undivided attention. That's a part of active listening. Thanks for bringing that up, Austin.
Yeah,
Super.
no problem.
Okay, so I have some questions for you guys, and Echo, I won't forget your question. I will keep that in mind for the end. So we talked about building confidence, as a YPA. So let's talk a little bit about that. Um, we talked about validation. We talked about building confidence. If you had to go without validation, right? So let's say you never got validation on anything again for the rest of your life, not how your outfit looked, not how your makeup was done. You're working on something. No one ever is like, you did great, good job. Nothing. Do you feel like you would be more confident or less confident, and why? I would answer, but I feel like me answering is cheating. Um, But yeah, so I'll say the question again so that way you guys have some clarity. But if you never got validation again for the rest of your life, would you be more confident or less confident?
Can I
Feel
come
free.
on to you and answer?
Absolutely.
For me personally, I feel like I would feel less confident. Like even in the workspace, I feel like I've only been doing advocacy for like 3, 4 years now. So it's still very new for me, even though I have like the lived experience. I feel like on the professional side, I do look for validation in a sense because I know my feelings are valid, but I just want to make sure I'm doing it in the right way. So if I was to be working or doing anything and not getting validation to know like I'm doing better and I'm growing, I would feel less confident. I would probably not speak up as much.
Mm, okay, that's interesting. Okay, okay. So you would feel less confident and you want to make sure that you're on the right track. So not getting validation you would no longer have the signal to know that you're on the right track. Did I get that
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Awesome. Thank you, Kimmy. I'm seeing folks saying I would feel less confident, feel like I'm doing something wrong constantly. Christina, thank you. Miriam says less confident. Sheila says less confident. Getting reassurance is important because it makes me feel that I'm on the right path. Yep, similar to Kimmy. Emma says definitely less confident. Right. Right. So it's safe to say that we all would need validation from time to time. Right. So all the people that are saying you don't need validation, right? They've been lying to you. Secrets out, but we all need a little validation to feel more confident, right? Confidence allows us to believe we have the ability to take on whatever task is in front of us. And without validation, right, we won't know where we're headed, where we're going, and if it's the right direction to be in. Right. Validation doesn't have to be some crazy compliment. Oh my God, you're so amazing at what you're doing, even though that would be nice. Um, it can just be something as simple as this is correct. You're doing the right thing here. That validation is key to us to grow, right? It's that constructive feedback, right? It's the signal we're doing things the right way that we need. So thank you for answering, guys. I think yes, validation is necessary. Some additional comments I have for you guys, right, is the doubt that you feel when you're undertaking a new task is very normal, right? Um, it's important to understand that it's normal and that it's not unprecedented, right? To doubt is to double check, right? It means that your ego is not that large to where you believe you're always correct, right? You have to have some level of doubt to be able to stay on the correct path. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think it's important to just keep in mind that validation is necessary, but that doubts are normal. It's a part of the process. Um, and yeah, I think one other thing to keep in mind is that when you're feeling some self-doubt, um, you should acknowledge the doubt, right? I'm not feeling confident here, or I'm not sure if this is the right thing to do. Saying it out loud will actually help you navigate that difficulty much easier. And it will allow you to recap some of your successes. I got that from Kara. Don't tell Kara I told you guys, but that was a little cheat code that she gave me. But yeah, thank you all for sharing. Super helpful, super great. Grateful that you guys shared. Let's talk about mindset. Oh, someone came off mute.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Could I just wanted to comment on that
Yeah,
real
go
quick.
ahead.
I kind of came in late. Um, yeah, I think one of the best things about being in kind of like the front field event, right? Because I used to work for ACS 150 William Street, and it was a lot of me just taking like a back burner almost, like I'd have to send emails saying, hey, uh, like we can't get you the funding in the next 2 months. Once I started working for You Gotta Believe, I was kind of out there in front lines, and I think that's where it really matters.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And no worries, even though you came in late, it's fine. You might have missed a couple sections, but you'll catch up real fast. I get the feeling that you will. But yeah, I mean, I think confidence is a hard thing to do, and I think sometimes an adjustment to your setting or to your work style or to your place of work might change the way that you view yourself, your abilities, and your personal confidence. So thank you for sharing that. So mindset implications. Let's talk about that. Um, let's talk about what a mindset is. Let's talk about growth versus fixed, right? A growth mindset embraces challenges and views failures as opportunities for learning, while a fixed mindset sees failures as a reflection of personal inadequacy. This distinction profoundly impacts how youth approach tasks, perceived abilities, and motivation, right? So we're talking about the growth mindset, right? And what that means. If you've heard of a growth mindset, this should be very familiar to you. Um, but a growth mindset is key in being able to really overcome those same challenges that we're talking about, right? Life is full of hurdles and full of challenges. If you have a growth mindset, you'll equip yourself with the strength needed to overcome them. Think of everything as a lesson, you know. Try not to view things as losses entirely. There's always something to be learned. Um, you know, if you've lost in some sort of way, right? Um, there's something to be gained from this, right? Find value in everything that you experience because it will allow you to improve as an individual, but you may be able to overcome this and not have to struggle in the same way in the future, right? Um, it'll change the way that you look at life as a whole. So this works for you and for the young people that you work with, right? So we want to have that growth mindset. The effects of mindset on youth. Youth with a growth mindset are more likely to engage in constructive self talk, seek feedback, and persist through difficulties, resulting in better outcomes academically and socially. Conversely, those with a fixed mindset may struggle with resilience and adaptability, right? So, again, talking about the difference, right? Um, if you have a fixed mindset and you just see it as a failure and that's it, you'll struggle to want to come back and do it again and try to overcome it because you just see it as a failure, right? But if you have a growth mindset, you'll see it, okay, this didn't go well before. What notes can I take away from this? How can I do this differently, right? Um, it'll allow you to have that strength, that steel within yourself to be able to overcome and transform the way that you approach the same task. Um, you know, constructive self-talk, right? I'm capable of this. I can do this. This should be easy if I do this. Or this might be challenging, but I think I can do it. Seek feedback. Try not to be afraid of it. I think feedback is, especially as a creative myself, feedback sometimes can feel really harsh if you've put your heart and soul into something. But feedback is so necessary for long-term growth and short-term growth. It will allow you to see things that you can't see on your own, right? And it'll really just help you understand that there are so many different ways to look at this, and your singular perspective might not be the only way to look at it. Yes, Kimmy. I've always thought I was optimistic, but now listening, I would say I have a growth mindset. Yes, typically in life, people have one of these two, right? They either have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. Naturally, there will be some outliers, but I am no psychology expert to be able to tell you what the third option is. But they typically fall into one of these two buckets here. And a growth mindset. It's good to hear that you have one. Optimism, growth mindset, call it what you want, you know what I mean? Same approach, right? You believe that there is a way to achieve and overcome whatever's in front of you. You want the best outcome and you believe it's possible, and that's the key to a growth mindset. Okay, let's see. Fostering a growth mindset. Youth peer advocates can foster a growth mindset by promoting the idea that mistakes contribute to learning. Encouraging the consistent feedback, celebrating small wins, and providing support creates an environment where youth feel safe to take risks and grow. Okay. No one said it would be easy. You got to take a leap of faith. You got to take a risk to be able to accomplish anything, right? You have to challenge yourself. We talked about feedback already, right? But we want to encourage it, right? Give them a reason to seek the feedback, right? And show them that feedback works, right? It makes a difference when the feedback is constructive. Um, Mistakes are all a part of the process of growth and learning. Celebrate small wins. This is something I struggled with for a long time. I would say I still kind of struggle with it, actually. Um, but celebrating small wins is it's not common, right? If you've experienced a lot of difficulties, sometimes we train our brains to say, okay, we'll only celebrate once we're done. Once we're done everything, once we've done it all, we've hit our coup de grace, right? But you want to take your time and celebrate those small wins. So let's say your goal is to something simple. Well, it's not so simple now that I'm thinking about it, but let's say your goal is to lose weight, right? You can celebrate a small win, right? Like 1 pound is still a victory. Even though you might have wanted to lose 20, 1 pound is still a victory, right? If you've never been to the gym and you want to lose weight, making it there is still a victory. And I wouldn't say, celebrate and leave and go get a donut immediately after, but still celebrate, right? There is a way to make sure that you're validating the fact that you've made some progress, right? So give it a shot. Try to celebrate small wins. Look for the small wins in your life. We all have something we're working towards. That's why we're here. That's why we keep going. Try to find something to celebrate, um, and you'll find that it'll really help in building this growth mindset. And as a youth peer advocate, encourage the young people that you work with to celebrate small wins as well. I'm seeing some movement in the chat. I think it's possible to change your mindset because it's something I'm currently working on. That's awesome to hear, Austin. I think mindset change is something that is challenging, and some people don't believe it's possible, but I firmly believe that it's possible because I've done it. I've changed my mindset, right? I used to be a fixed mindset, right? But as I grew older and I experienced more of life, I made a conscious decision to believe that there's always something to be gained, even when you feel like you've lost in the situation. There's always a lesson, right? And as long as you're able to keep going, that's a win in my book. Jonathan says it's all about perspective. Absolutely all about perspective. Megan says, changing my self-talk to be more positive helped me develop a growth mindset. Yes, we were just talking about self-talk, right? That's key, right? Having that growth mindset will really change everything, right? And the self-talk. Sometimes you need to be your own biggest supporter, your own number one fan, because it'll really help you persist. Of course, Austin. That's what I'm here for. I'm glad I could provide some perspective for you guys. Okay, so we talked about growth versus fixed mindset and the implications of mindset. So I have a couple questions for you guys. Now we're gonna get chatty. I've been chatting at you for a little while, but um, what is a mindset you have in your life that aids you? Right, I saw some folks talking about they're changing their mindset and working on it. But what's something that you live by, right? Some words that you live by while if you have a growth mindset, what's something that you keep in your mind to be able to accomplish your goals or to see it through, to stick through to the end? So it's two questions in one, but you can answer whichever part you want. So what's a mindset you have in your life that aids you? And what are some words to live by while having a growth mindset? You can come off mute or you can type in
Good,
chat.
good afternoon, everyone. Namisha here. Namisha, nice to meet you. That's literally how you'll remember my name.
Wow.
I think one mindset that I live by that has served me really well is never wanting to be the smartest person in the room. I literally live by that because I feel like if I'm in a room where I can't learn from other people or I'm not in a place where I can soak up some new information, that it's not helpful. And I prefer to be in a space where I can learn from all of the people around me and soak in new information, especially things that I'm not well versed on. And I think um, I think to answer the second question, oh, could you repeat the second question, Onyx? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Namicha, that's how you say it, right? I
You
hope
got it
I got
correct. Yep.
it. Okay. So the second question was, what are some words you live by while having a growth mindset?
Um, Stay ready so I don't have to get ready. I think if I continuously think about like what's on my plate and I'm even if I'm not exactly where I want to be, like taking small steps prior to getting to the main goal, whether it's like a speaking engagement or something like that. Like I'll prep myself in little bites so that by the time the time comes, I feel like I'm fully prepared. So those will be the two things.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Misha. I think you dropped some wisdom on us. And I think that it's going to be super helpful for some folks who are here and listening. I think that's super helpful. Mindset is everything. And I think you grow from what you overcome, right? And everything that you've overcome becomes a part of your strength. So I think it's important to keep strong mindsets and, you know, anything that you see in here. I think all the folks that have been sharing so far, I think these are all great things to take with you. Christina's saying it's only a bump in the road. Sheila's saying I'm not defined by one mistake or failure. I agree with both of those. Kimmy says my favorite quote is life is like photography. We develop from the negatives. And I think that's so fire. I think I'm gonna use that one. I think that's amazing. I'm gonna keep that one in mind if I can remember it. Sheila says keep moving forward. Love that. Um, is the action I'm taking or want to take a reflection of who I am and or who I want to be? That's what Austin says. And I think it's a good question to keep in mind, right? Sometimes we have to ask ourselves questions to keep us on the right path, sort of like a North Star. Um, Also, if you're not reading the chat, Vanessa's saying, feel free to chat in your questions throughout the presentation and we'll address them during the Q&A. So whatever questions you have, if they're burning, you can just add them here. And then when the Q&A comes, we'll answer them as well. But thank you all so much for sharing that. I think it's important to really speak about your mindset and establish it, right? There's something that I say quite often, actually, these days. You have to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. And it's such a broad quote, but that's why I like it, because if you don't clearly define what it is that you're about and what you stand for, you will lose your way and it'll be really easy for you to be deceived by many different things, by doubt, right? By folks who are seeking to deceive you. Or you just might misunderstand a situation because you haven't rooted yourself in your values, right? So I think that that's key. Um, Namisha, I see your DM. Can you send that message to
He was
either?
able to get in.
Oh, okay. Oh, perfect. All right, great.
Thank you.
Guillermo, you must know sin before salvation. It's very religious coded, but it gives strength to those that have struggled so that they can see the sun again. It is religious coded, but the message is received. You got to struggle. You got to experience some bad stuff before you see the good stuff. 50 Cent, I think, actually had a quote. Um, Joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain, and sunny days wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for rain. And I think that's just so wise, right? Sometimes you have to experience some of the bad stuff to really understand the good stuff. But even if you don't have to, when you do experience struggle or hardship, remember there's a lesson and there's something to be gained from it, right? So keep that in mind when you're going through some things, and I hope that it helps you overcome any of your struggles. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for sharing with me. Let's talk about overcoming some confidence barriers. Well, I think this might be the wrong side. Oh, it is. All right, perfect. Social media often creates unrealistic standards, leading to unhealthy comparisons among youth. It is essential to educate them on the difference between curated online personas and real life situations to enhance self acceptance and reduce feelings of inadequacy. Social media. This actually might be my favorite section because as a creative in this day and age, you're told that if you want your work to be seen, you have to put it on social media and you have to do it this way and you have to do it that way. While that may be true, your social media presence does not directly equate to your personal and real life value. Okay. Social media is an imaginary place, it is not real. Okay. You can turn your phone off, and social media will not exist to you, right? So it's important to intake social media with a grain of salt and understand that whatever your perceived value on there, either to you or to other people, is not what your actual value is. Okay. They say comparison is the thief of joy, and I believe this. As someone who is ambitious, comparison feels like a necessary evil, but I urge you to understand comparisons on social media will almost never amount to anything good. Almost never. Okay. You are constantly competing with the best versions of each person. How can you compete with the best version of each person when you are not the best version of yourself every day? Right? We all have our moments of struggle. So please keep in mind when you're using social media to avoid comparison in this way. It really can disrupt your mindset and change the way that you view yourself in a negative way. Um, and make sure that when you're working with young people, you educate them on the difference between the two, right? So Onyx online is not Onyx in real life, right? It's not the same person, and they never will be, right? Because they're snapshots of moments in people's lives, and we're much more nuanced than a couple photographs and videos, right? Um, so keep that in mind, so that way they can accept who they actually are. Um, I'm seeing some movement in the chat. I'll read that really quickly. Thanks, Megan. And yeah, the knowledge says social media is a gift and a curse. Yes, it is. It is a gift and a curse. If you know how to use it, hopefully it'll be a gift more than a curse, right? Let's talk about peer pressure. This photo is actually perfect for peer pressure. Peer pressure can significantly affect youth decision making and self-esteem. Encouraging open discussions about peer influences help youth develop confidence in their choices and reinforces the importance of making healthy, independent decisions, right? We've all experienced peer pressure. If you say you haven't experienced it, congratulations, you might be the first human on planet Earth to never experience peer pressure. Um, it's so common and it happens in ways that you wouldn't believe. Peer pressure isn't just something that you experience when you're out at a party with your friends. Peer pressure happens in every situation. Your loved ones, for example, your siblings, if you have siblings, you've probably experienced peer pressure at some point in time. If you work in an office or you have coworkers, you've probably experienced peer pressure at some point in time. If you've gone to college, if you've gone to school, you've probably experienced peer pressure. And I think it's important to acknowledge it because it can go over your head, right? But it significantly affects your decision making and your self-esteem. Okay. Let's I don't want to do the one that people always do when they're talking about you're at a party and you're underage and you're drinking. Like, let's not talk about that. I feel like that's really common, right? But let's talk more about like, okay, you're a young adult, you're 18, 19, and all of your peers have gone to, let's say, Ivy League colleges, let's say, and you're the only one that didn't go. All of your friends have gone to Ivy League colleges, right? You haven't decided on your college just yet, but the nearest Ivy League college will take you away from your family, and you really want them to be around you when you're experiencing this new frontier in life. Peer pressure is telling you that you should go and apply to an Ivy League school. What's inside of you is telling you stay with your family because it's safer there and you feel comfortable. Again, neither decision is the right one here, but one might be only influenced by peer pressure. Maybe you wouldn't have thought about it if you didn't consider the fact that all your friends are going there and they're saying, yeah, you should just go to an Ivy League school. We're all going to Ivy Leagues, right? Think about stuff like that. You're at work, right? Give you another scenario. You're at work, all of your coworkers, assuming you're all of legal drinking age, all of your coworkers are going to happy hour, right? That's a peer pressure scenario. They're like, okay, we're going to this bar after work. Do you want to come? But you know you have things to do when you're done with work. You have to go do your laundry, right? Or you got a kid at home, so you got to make sure that your kid's okay, right? That's peer pressure. Going to that bar, while it may not inherently be a bad thing, it will impede what it is that you already had going, right? That's just an example of how we experience peer pressure. But now take those same examples, right? And reimagine them for young people, right? You're a young person in high school. You're like, okay, my friends are going to this party after school, but I have homework to do and I have a test to study for, and I am severely underprepared for this test. But I really want to go to this party because all my friends are going. It's going to affect your decision making, and it may affect what you do in the near future and your outcome. Your score on that test coming up may significantly be decreased if you succumb to peer pressure here, right? Now, peer pressure is normal. I'm not saying that you shouldn't want to hang out with your friends or, want to connect with your peers, but you should be aware of when it's happening and equip yourself with the ability to know the difference and make informed decisions when it's present, right? It's not an easy thing to overcome and it takes practice. But the more confidence you have in yourself, the more likely you are to overcome the challenges of peer pressure. I'm seeing movement in the chat. Guillermo, I'm going to answer your question because I realized I'm on peer pressure and you were talking about social media. How would we go about starting that conversation without sounding like someone saying social media is evil? I think if you're trying to have this conversation with someone about social media and how they approach it, remember this: everything in moderation. Okay, so too much of a good thing is a bad thing. So even if they view social media as something that's really amazing, like some folks have said, it can be a good and a bad thing at the same time. Social media is not inherently evil. Okay, there are some amazing things that can come out of social media, right? There are some people who have made careers out of being able to have a social media personality. They've educated people with social media. They've used YouTube to help people, progress further in life. There are YouTube channels dedicated to teaching young men how to do things that their otherwise absent fathers wouldn't have been able to teach them, right? Social media can be amazing. The key is to helping them understand how to use it. Okay, it's not that you shouldn't use it, it's how do you use it, right? So you can approach it by saying social media is great, but remember, you're comparing your entire life to someone's best moments. Just keep that in mind for all conversations you have about social media. You're comparing your entire life to someone's best moments. You will never have the full picture from social media. So take everything with a grain of salt, right? I hope that helps, Guillermo. And if it does, let me know. Christina is saying high school is the biggest when it comes to trying to force kids to apply to colleges rather than allowing them to choose a trade instead, right? I think as someone who's experienced college myself, I think that there's multiple ways that people can live their lives, right? I think you can either go to college, you can either pick up a trade, or you can do something completely entirely different that we haven't thought of, right? But I think that's our role as people who are adults and want to support young people in their self-confidence and their decision-making ability. We have to empower them in knowing that they have the ability and have options outside of what they're being told is there for them. Encourage them to do research, and follow their heart, and pick a decision that makes sense for them, right? Because it's their lives, right? We are not going to live it for them. We're not going to go and apply to those schools for them. We're not going to be in those classes for them. We're not going to decide their schedule. We're not going to show up to their job for them or go to that trade school for them. We want to encourage them to do what is best for them and help them understand that there are options. This isn't a post-secondary webinar, but I hope that helps, Christina. Guillermo is saying, do you think a workshop about social media would be productive for youth? Yeah, I think a workshop about social media could be helpful. Not even just for youth, for everyone. Because it's not just young people that compare themselves to others on social media, but I think young people are the highest consumers of social media content. So yeah, I think a workshop could be helpful. So tips for building confidence in young people. Creating a supportive environment to build confidence in youth involves consistent presence and communication. Make time for them, actively listen, and provide praise to help them recognize and develop their strengths, right? Create that environment. This is a safe space. You can always tell me what's on your mind, right? You tell me what's on your mind, and we'll talk. We'll have a natural conversation, genuine. Know that I'm here to support you, and I think that will help the young person be able to be more self-assured, more sure of themselves, I should say, um, and just be consistent. Consistency is key, and I think our lives lack so much consistency already as it is. And the best thing you can do for a young person is to be there for them when they need you. Make time for them, listen to them, let them know they're doing a good job, and that'll help them understand what their strengths are. Celebrate those successes, right? Acknowledge youth achievements, no matter how small. That helps to reinforce their sense of self-worth. Encourage them to reflect on their successes and recognize their growth to instill a lasting sense of confidence and motivation, right? Take a step back, right? You've worked really hard. You've been talking about this big goal. You said to you wanted to learn those new chords on your song. You wanted to learn how to do that triple axel somersault. I don't know about gymnastics, but I assume that that's something that gymnasts would think about. Um, Reflect on the journey and what happened and how you overcame it. Count the falls too, though, right? Don't just look on the good. It's important to look at all of it, right? Count the falls, but make sure you emphasize the amount of times they got up, right? That resilience is key to self-confidence. Confidence is resilience. Um, so acknowledge those achievements. You said you wanted to get an A in this class. You got you got an 80 on this test, you got 95 on this test. You're doing amazing. Celebrate each achievement if possible. It'll really help them understand I'm actually good at this thing that I say that I'm gonna do, and I'm making progress. So anyways, before I get to the end, I did have one more question for you guys. Um, and we're talking about celebration, we're talking about social media. How do you overcome confidence barriers, right? So when you're not feeling confident, what do you do or what helps you to regain some of that confidence? Anyone can answer. You
Like,
can, or you can.
um, for me, my name is Knowledge. For me, it's knowing the information that I'm speaking on. Because it give me like I took a course in public speaking, and so what I've learned that once I know the information, my mind won't be all over the place. I have a subject, I break it down to how I want to break it down, and it builds up a lot of confidence for me, knowing that I know what I'm talking about through my research and all that. So, and then a lot of times it's my experiences. So, and that helped play the part with me too, personally.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Knowledge. Yeah, I think knowing what you're talking about is a confidence booster, right? You've studied, you've done the work, you've searched for the answers, and you have them. You have them, and so you can speak confidently on them. I think that's a big deal. Thank you for sharing Knowledge, because I feel similarly. Um,
Can I
I'm seeing
go
questions
next?
to music.
Thank
Oh, go ahead, Guillermo.
Sorry. No, I think one of the things that I've learned for the past year being a peer advocate, I think I've learned that sometimes you have to actually realize that you need you need some help, right? Like like sometimes the confidence is gonna go away, and that's when you go to your supervisor, you go to your friends, and they even if they can't help you with what they say, you just go to yourself, and then that just builds strength, that builds um I think it builds confidence, because it's like, yo, dude, like I did it, I chose to do this. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, that's a big deal, right? Remembering that sometimes you might need some help, but just taking that step back to get that reminder, or reminding yourself, I chose to do this, so I'm going to see it through. I think that's a big deal. I think I heard someone else come off of mute as well. Thank you for sharing, Guillermo.
It was me. Um, I just literally when I'm feeling down, I like to give other people compliments, and then like knowing that they're happy that they smiled because I gave them a compliment makes me feel warm, and then my confidence like boosts again, kind of sort of. I start feeling like Sonic, just gaining coins.
I understand that reference. I like that one. I think, yeah, sometimes it's helpful to pour out some good energy. Sometimes we feed off of the good energy we give to other people. I think that's a rare trait, Amisha, and I think that's amazing that you have it and keep doing it because the world needs more people like you. Um, it's amazing. I'm seeing lots of movement in the chat, and we're getting pretty close to one, so I'm going to read these and then I'll take some questions. Um, Emma says, a lot of times I'm faking it till I make it. Letting myself feel the uncomfortable and getting through these experiences builds confidence for me. Yeah, sometimes you got to pretend that you got it, and you might trick yourself enough into believing that you got it. Little did you know you had it the whole time. So maybe you weren't faking it. Maybe you actually did have it, but you just were telling yourself that you didn't. Jonathan is saying self-affirmation. Yes, reminding yourself that you are capable, you're worthy, you're gonna do it. Um, Sheila is saying viewing or talking to myself as if I were a friend, right? What would Sheila do, right? I feel like I often ask my at least 10 times a day. I'm just like, yo, what is going on here? On every single thing that confuses me. And then if I'm doubting something or I know I have the answer to something, but I feel like I'm unfocused, I'll just say, lock in, Onyx. You got this. Right. So sometimes talking to yourself as a third person might sound crazy, but it actually helps. Cheryl says, I usually pray for guidance and understanding on what I want. Makes sense. Sometimes that's what helps, right? Giving yourself that affirmation, and affirmation comes in many forms. So I'm glad that's what's working for you. Austin says, believe in the me that believes in you. Oh, you just tripped my mind out, man. You just tripped my mind out. You guys have some amazing quotes. Believe in the me that believes in you. I'm gonna sit with that one for a little bit because I think that hit something for me. Miriam says practicing self-affirmation. Yes. Vanessa is reminding you all to please take a moment to complete our brief feedback survey. The link is in the chat. So everyone, if you take a look at the chat, you'll see it there. Just go ahead and complete that whenever you get the chance. I'm not sure how you say your name. Is that Cascal? But the last name is Zawadi, saying repetition.
What's just Cass? Easier.
Cas?
Cass.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I like that. That makes life nice and easy. Um, Very unique name. Repetition is good for confidence, right? Repeating the things that you know you're good at. You know this. You're not new to this, you're true to this, right? So keep doing what you're good at. That's a good one. Thanks for stopping by, Christina. I'm so glad you're able to join us. Okay, so that's good to know that you guys have some methods for, how to regain that confidence and build that. I think all of these things that I've said to you here today, I think are really helpful in building that confidence. And I hope you take it with you in the work that you do, but also in your personal lives, right? All the images you see here are provided by Prezi.com. So go holla at Prezi. Here is the Q&A section. If you have any questions, now is a great time to ask. I'm here to answer any questions. You can put them in the chat if you haven't already. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for participating. I hope this was helpful for you all. I hope you have some newfound confidence going into your work and going into your life. I think that this is a big deal. Upcoming CTAC events, meeting them where they are, a panel discussion on best practices for supporting youth experiencing homelessness. That's on March 21st from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. So be on the lookout for that. And you can visit ctacny.org to view past trainings, sign up for updates and event announcements, and to access resources. Please complete the feedback survey that Vanessa linked in the chat at the end of the webinar, and you can contact CTAC at the address provided afterwards. If you have any questions, again, I'm here to answer questions.
Yeah, I have a question.
Absolutely.
I know earlier we were talking about validation, but I know like one thing that a lot of youth struggle with is needing constant reassurance or validation that what they're doing is right. Like, as opposed to having confidence in themselves that instead of like that they like they do something and they're confident that it's good. They don't have to ask someone like, "Hey, is this good?" So like I guess that revolves all the things we were talking about, like growth mindsets, overcoming barriers and stuff like that. But like, do you have any other advice for things like that?
I think what you're talking about is validation, right? And I think validation, we spoke about it, it's a part of confidence. I think because it's a part of the journey of confidence, if validation is constantly needed, then there might be a building block of confidence missing. Um, but what you can do in that situation, if you're noticing it with a young person that you're working with, is to remind them of all the times that they've succeeded at what it is that they're talking about, right? So if they're constantly asking for validation, but you know that they're capable, just prove it to them. Just prove that they're capable, right? Remind them you've done this before. You're very capable. But asking for validation is quite normal. Um, the frequency may change depending on the individual and their level of confidence, right? Um, but there's a saying, trust but verify, right? So it could also be that, right? Trust that you're doing a good job, but just double check to make sure that it's really good. Could be their mindset. Um, so my advice in that situation, just take a look at the successes that they've already had and remind them of said successes. And if it's yourself, take a step back, think about what's going on, think about what you're applying yourself to, and ask yourself if you've done this before. And if you have, how did it go? I hope that helps, Austin. Awesome. Well, yeah. I appreciate you all for being here. I'm going to stop sharing. Thank
Thank
you
you
so.
so much. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
All yours. Take it away.
Okay. Thank you, Onyx, for the great presentation. Thank you, everyone, for your time, attention, and participation. As a reminder, today's recording and the slides will be available on the CTAC website within the next 2 to 3 business days. And our coordinator, as Onyx said, put a link in the chat box so you can give us your brief feedback on this webinar. On behalf of Families Together, CTAC, and Onyx, thank you so much for joining us today and have a great rest of your day. We'll see you soon.